So I'm sure all you guys know, but I was in England studying abroad, and then kind of forcefully I returned home, and I had a day and a half of notice, so I did not really have like that closure that I really wanted to. But I feel so happy right now to be back at like Goucher Hillel services and to see all of your faces. And that was one thing that like I really missed, was the Jewish community in England, because I didn't really have that there. So I'm like really, really happy to be back at services with all of you guys.
We shelter ourselves, we shelter those around us, and we remind ourselves of kind of like chesed and kindness, and we like enrobe ourselves with a sense of protection.
This week's portion is really a lot about sacrifice and giving things up and making offerings to God. And if you read the portion closely, it also talks about the flame that's used, and it's the eternal flame. Like, it never goes out. They keep it constantly, and it's kindled, and it's looked after, and it's taken care of. And I think that's a really important message to keep in mind, especially when we're all probably, going a little stir crazy, getting really bored, that like we just kind of got to keep that fire going and just know that like it's kind of sucky now, but we'll get through it. It'll get better. And just kind of find ways to keep your inner fire burning, whether that's through taking a walk, doing some self-care, making some crafts, just something to keep the fire going. Thanks for coming to my Torah Talk.
Afikomen is so much fun. Afikomen is for everyone. You can hide it here or there, but you cannot hide it everywhere. Do not hide it with your pup. It will not fit inside a cup. You can hide it near a chair, but do not hide it under there. Unless you want a broken bone as proof. Do not hide it on the roof! Do not hide it in your car. You should not travel near or far. Soon this quarantine will be done. Until then, happy Passover, everyone!
Want to sing along? They can, so here it goes. Kadeh Shochat, Kapas Yachat, Magid Watzah, Mari Matzah, Ma'or Oreh, Shulchan Oreh, Tzavurah, Hallel Yitzah.
Type of plagues we have blood, we have a frog with missing an eye, if that's okay. We have rice. we have beasts. We have sickly cows.
Cow.
We have, I forget what comes next, but I'm gonna say locust comes next. I don't remember locust. We have a boil. Let's see you. Tail. We have darkness, and then we have death of the first guy.
Not happy.
Sad.
I like really relate to it because I definitely understand like when you're upset or frustrated or angry, a lot of the time in that moment the last thing you want to hear is someone trying to convince you that you shouldn't be, because like that's really not beneficial. So I know like when I'm feeling those things as that person, like depending on how I'm feeling, I know there will be certain people I'll go to, like whether I'm in a space where I want to like feel better, or I'm in a space where I just need to like process how I feel and like let that sit for a while. So I think it's definitely really important, and it's important as a person to kind of understand where other people are at, and that sometimes it's not the right thing to do to just try and cheer someone up.
And I like the thought that God changes and can transition like all of us, because we're all on our own journeys, and transition is a significant part of that. Like the transformation and transition that God like makes along with us as a Jewish people and ourselves individually as Jews is so important to me. And I just like found myself asking, like, how can our liturgical tradition like help guide us to the next step in the journey we take as like partners of God that like transition together, I guess. And like making new pathways for us to wander in search of God, holiness, and the sacred in our lives is something that I've been thinking about as I like keep in mind when we look at like the physical act of building a space and a place for the communion with God, like as in the tabernacle. And it's interesting, especially in this time when we're not together, like physically, like how we invite God into our homes and like how that has to be intentional and like guided by Jewish values.
Hashkireinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'chaim. Hashkireinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'chaim. Everything is gonna be alright. 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 Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm dreaming. But I pray don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. But when negativity surrounds, and I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we're not gonna fight no more. There'll be no more wars and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, oh, one day, one day, one day. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. Ooh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly.